What's up, guys? My name is Taylor, and I'm a 25-year-old options trader from Massachusetts. And my buddy Austin was kind enough to ask me a few questions here, kind of, sharing with you guys my background, how I got started in trading, and hopefully you can take some value from this and apply it to your own trading, and possibly, my story may help, motivate some of you guys to really go after trading, really throw your heart into it, and really make it your craft. So with that being said, I'm just going to read the questions here off of my phone, and I'm going to do the best job I can to give you guys, some really good, well thought out answers here. So the first question is, can you give me some background on what it was that inspired you to get into the stock market? So for me, guys, I have a really interesting background as far as that goes. My father is a professional trader. So my father is he's a financial advisor, he's a wealth manager. So, when I was 13, 14, 15 years old, he began to teach me, about the stock market. So I was fortunate as a young kid. I had a mentor, in the same house as me. My father. So what better mentor to have, in a particular field than your father? So of course, like most young kids, I think you kind of, you at least take some kind of interest in what your parents do. And for me, seeing my dad home every day, and, going up to his office, up on the third floor and seeing all these charts, and you know, it just kind of really drew my attention. And then over time, I would say the other thing that kind of lured me towards trading was, just really figuring out my personality. As a young kid, I didn't do well in school. I really don't do well in structure. For whatever reason it is, I don't do well taking direction. It's not an ego thing. It's nothing like that. I'm just much better off, being independent. I'm a much better, player than I am a teammate, if that makes any sense. So, trading appealed to me for that reason as well. Because, if you can figure trading out, you can create that life where you don't have to answer to anybody, or, you're not really living on someone else's set structure. So for me, that was really the huge appeal for it, was that I could actually create the lifestyle I wanted and not have to have a boss and and show up at the office every day from 9 to 5, and and dress and wear whatever they may want me to wear. Those things just never sat well with me, as an individual. So the freedom and the fact that trading is all on you, that really appealed to me. And I would say the third thing, obviously, was the money. From a very, very, very young age, probably largely due to the fact that my father was always talking to me about money, about finances. I wanted to be rich. Since as long as I can remember when I was young, um, you know, I was the 10, 12-year-old kid who was talking about Lamborghinis, playing Need for Speed. Those are the things I was interested in. I've always been obsessed with exotic cars, beautiful homes. I've always wanted to be rich. And to me, there's nothing wrong with that. I think we got a limited time here on this earth. For me, I want to be able to experience everything I want, enjoy all the things I want. And it's just the reality that, you need money to do that. So, my father got me into it. The freedom really appealed to me. And, I understood from a young age that if I ever became really good at this, I could make, a shitload of money. So I would say those are the three major things that got me into the market. My father, just my kind of personality, the way I was kind of just, internally wired, you know, the whole structure of being a full-time trader works very well for me. And, the potential financial gain. It's something I've wanted my entire life. And to be honest, nothing else in the world could ever offer me the opportunity to make the kind of money that trading can. Nothing else in the world where I'm sitting here, in my home office alone. So those are the major reasons that, I really got into trading, I would say. All right. Second question. What routines did you have to go through when you were just starting out to get where you are today in the markets? So for me, because I was so young, 12, 11, 13 years old, whatever it may have been, when I got introduced to the markets, obviously I wasn't in a position to go fund an account and begin, throwing thousands of dollars at the market. Despite the fact, my father's a trader, my father's in the markets, he didn't just hand me some account because you're not going to learn that way. So, the process I went through was, I read all the books, I watched the videos, I paper traded, I used to track my trades on paper. What would my profit have been? What would my loss have been? Really just took the time because I had the time to learn the game. Really experiment with all different kinds of strategies, different kinds of theories and setups. And I think there's something to be said for having the time to go through that trial and error. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people get into trading, with the expectation or the hope or desire that they're going to start to just make it rain right away, and that's really not the reality. It's a process, but it's only fair, it's only right to me. Anything where you can sit at home on the couch, have your own rules, your own life, and make really good money, that shouldn't be easy. It shouldn't be easy to get to that point. Everybody would trade if that was the case. So I think me having that time, to really just learn the game, digest as much as I could, learn from my father, learn from, his partner, my other mentor. That was really, the major thing I went through first. That played the biggest role, in where I am today. Was that I didn't rush the process. I was a teenager. I had all the time in the world, so that worked out for me. So with that being said, it isn't really a surprise that I'm where I'm at now because I'm 25 now, and trading has been my thing since I was again 14, 15, 16 years old. You do anything every single day, throw your heart into something every day for 9, 10 years, you're going to be pretty good at it. That's just how things kind of work. So that was really my initial kind of routine that I went through to get where I am now, was just take the time to learn the game. As much as I want the money and I'm hungry for the money, trading's never been about the money. It's really been more about the process, understanding the game, understanding the process, learning who I am as a trader, what works for me. And it takes time, but that process is what pays you good money in the future. So next question, tell me about your trading experience and strategy. How do you bring profits from the market? So I could talk for hours about this, but I won't do that to you guys. The plain and simple is that my view of the markets is that it is just simply a game of supply and demand. The reason that the price of a stock will go up is that more demand for ownership of that stock went up as well. So for me, the way that I approach the markets is, the term I like to use in the focus trades group is follow the money. I have the belief that the game is supply and demand, and that, we don't have the capital that these hedge funds and these large institutions have. To make a stock like a Facebook or a Netflix or an Amazon, move 2, 3, 4, 5%, that requires a massive amount of shares to be taken off the market. And that requires billions of dollars. That's never going to be me. No matter how good I get at trading, I'm never going to have billions of dollars to plow into a single trade. And if that kind of demand, that kind of money pouring into a stock and taking shares off the market, if that's what it takes for these leading stocks to make moves, with that being said, I need to understand that because I can't do that, I have to follow the money. So, in a nutshell, my approach to trading is that I follow the money. Good example, guys, right here. I got my charts open. If we look at Netflix, the reason Netflix goes on a tear like this, it's not a news piece, whatever the catalyst is irrelevant. The reason it's making a great move is that shares are being taken off the market. The less of something there is, the more valuable it is. So when these billion-dollar funds come take massive positions, taking a lot of those shares off the market, now there's less supply. The price rises. So simple supply and demand. So in a nutshell, I just try to simply follow the large flow of money day after day. Whether it's a 5-minute day trade or a multi-week swing trade, my goal at all times is to have that demand, that buying pressure from the institutions at my back. That's the wind at my back as a trader. Wherever that large money is flowing, I believe they're the ones who can cause these fruitful moves. So by default, my job, the way I view myself as a trader, is to simply be like a magnet and follow them every day. So you guys can definitely check out my YouTube, just search focus trades on there. And I got a lot more videos kind of going more in depth on my approach and my view of the markets. But in a nutshell, I like to follow the money, and that's what's worked well for me. I've tried a lot of different things, but at the end of the day, I think having something that you can, a core belief or just some core thing that you can kind of grasp onto and structure all of your trading around, that's really key. So that's why the follow the money approach worked well for me, is that it gave me something tangible to search for each and every day. Next question. How many strategies and trading systems did you go through for being comfortably consistent with the setup you have now? I can't even begin to tell you. So I have done buy and hold. I have traded micro cap stocks, small cap stocks. I've done large cap stocks. I've swing traded. I've trend followed. I've tried scalping. I've traded strictly pullbacks. I've traded strictly breakouts. Pretty much anything you can think of, I've done it through trial and error. Again, kind of going back to the last question, what worked for me was following volume, following the big money. So, after a lot of trial and error, that's kind of how I've settled on, where I am now. But I went through everything. But at this point, guys, I would say, I'm a short-term trader. I may play, an intraday move for 5, 10 minutes, or I may play it for a few days. But as a general statement, the strategy that I've landed on now is simply, I'm just trying to follow the flow of money, trying to follow, the accumulation, and whether that's taking place for 5, 10 minutes or whether that's taking place for a week, I like to capitalize on that opportunity. But believe me, I've tried everything. I've done regular stock, I've done options, and what really changed my trading and my life was when I switched over to options, 3 years ago. Same approach to the market. I'm looking for the same setups, the same preparation. Everything is still the same, but when I began to apply, the leverage of those options, that's when my life changed completely. Do you have a reason for the way you trade? Is it because your system fits your personal life best? Short and simple, it just works well for me. It makes sense to me. Um, in my heart, I'm able to just fully understand what I'm looking for, and that's really key. So when I'm trading, I don't have fear, I don't have emotions coming into play because what I'm doing just it 100% makes sense to me, and that's really important for a lot of you newer traders to keep in mind is doesn't matter what your neighbor's doing or the guy down the road or what I'm doing or what Austin's doing. You can take pieces from the traders who kind of paved the path before you, but ultimately you're your own person. You're wired emotionally different than anyone else out there. You got to figure out, and land on what truly works best for you. And looks like we got one more question here. There are a few more. When helping one develop a trading system, what are some tips you can give someone just starting out? For me, guys, whatever kind of system or setup you want to focus on, here are a few key things that I think any kind of trade system or strategy should have. The one thing you want to focus on is a strategy that has frequency. As independent traders, you know, how much opportunity we have really matters. So I wouldn't suggest focusing on a strategy that gives you maybe 1 to 2 opportunities a month. Whatever the setup, whatever the approach is, try to make sure you got a nice healthy opportunity set. You want to walk into the week with a full plate of opportunity and then just simply execute. The other thing that I think is important, guys, is whatever the system is, whatever the trade, whatever the setup, low risk, high reward. Me personally, I never put on a trade where I'm in a position to take a big hit. I do not like taking big losses, and because my winning trades are so beautiful, I can really nail big winners. I have no tolerance for the ones that don't work out. So the reason I'm able to grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger in my trades is that they're low risk, high reward. So whatever the setup may be, make sure that's an element in that trade.